Okay, so welcome to the Curriculum Committee meeting of April 6th, 2026. With us, we have the members of the committee, which is Andrea Ackerman, Ian, myself, and Anne Marie Mancini. Ian, I failed to mention your last name. I apologize. Thomas. We also have Caton Crowley, and I'm having trouble reading your name.
Daisy Rao.
Rao.
Daisy
Rao. I
Rao.
apologize.
That's okay.
Daisy. Okay.
Yeah.
And we have Mark Master Joseph on, I believe. Did I miss anyone? No? Okay. Good. I believe the first topic on the agenda was to go over the minutes of the last meeting and then make a motion on whether or not to accept those as is. So am I on target here, Anne Marie? Okay, thanks. Okay, so does anyone want to make a motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting?
I move to, I move that motion. Whatever you said, that's what I moved.
Okay. And Ian, were you about to say something? Are you going to second it or?
No, I'm all set. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think we need a second hit, but
okay.
Yeah, I'm all for it. I have no changes.
Okay. All right. So if there's no discussion on the minutes of the last meeting, we'll accept them as is, and they'll be forever written that way. And we can move on to the second item on the agenda. And I'm going to turn the floor over. I don't have a copy of the agenda in front of me right now. I lost it because I was in such a hurry, and that's my fault. So Anne Marie, would it be okay if I turned that over to you? Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you so much. So the first item on the agenda tonight is a review of the manufacturing courses offered at Fitch High School. This was placed on the agenda in response to a request from the larger board. This was a discussion that happened at either a community of practice, a community of the whole meeting, or a regular board meeting. I can't recall what type of board meeting, but this was part of the discussion. And so I'm prepared to share some information with all of you about the existing program right now at Fitch High School as a part of this presentation. So Caitlin, do you need me to project, or do you have the document to project?
Which attachment is it?
It should say, it's labeled IM resource recommendation, because these are like beginning slides.
Yep, I have that. I'll share.
Thank you. Okay, so you can see, you can see there, that's the agenda. And right now, as I said, I'm going to go over kind of a brief history of our current manufacturing program, and also include some information on the review of the funding, because that was also a request that was made by the larger board. If you wouldn't mind scrolling ahead. So this slide kind of reviews for you a timeline of the program in its history. And I did a little research on this with the help of a number of people that at Fitch High School that have been involved in the program. But I learned that the program was first started in 2009. And that's when the manufacturing courses, specifically Intro to Manufacturing and Manufacturing Tech 1, were first introduced to our program of studies. In 2016, our program was expanded to include the Manufacturing Technology 2 course. And that course was approved at the time by the Curriculum Council. And there was a brief period, and Dr. Ackerman, you could probably remember this because I know you served on the board at the time. There was about a 2.5 year period between the years 2016 and 2018 in which the Board of Ed, there was probably a curriculum committee, but there was an internal committee called like a curriculum council that approved all curriculum documents. They did not go to the full board. And so during that time, that's when Manufacturing Tech 2 was approved.
Mm-hmm.
In 2019 was the first time that we received Perkins funding. And that Perkins funding was used to add a second instructor in our manufacturing program. And we added Project Lead the Way to our program of studies as well. In 2020, our program expanded again to use Perkins funding to add. It looks like I have duplicate here, and I apologize about that. It shouldn't. That probably should just say adds Project Lead the Way to the program of studies. It shouldn't have both of that redundant information. And then in 2021, our district received the DODEA Career Pathways Grant to support our manufacturing program. At that point, our CAD course was added. And then finally in 2025, I know there was a question, again, when this went to the full board about a pause in which some courses were not being run. There was only 1 year in which the manufacturing courses were not run. That was in school year 23-24, the manufacturing course specifically. After a pause, I believe during the 22-23 year, there was a 1 year pause, and then the manufacturing course was reoffered to students. The pause was in 23-24, but it was reoffered to students in 2025, along with the Project Lead the Way and CAD courses. So hopefully this answers a lot of the questions that came up in terms of what curriculum courses had been reviewed and approved, when were those approvals secured, and then also how Perkins funding is used. But if you go to the next slide, I went through all of our Perkins funding applications. And here I itemized for you, the members of our board, how Perkins funding was used since it was secured. So in 2019, that was the first year that we received Perkins funding from the State Department of Education as one of our entitlement grants. And the recipients of the funds were our health science program, our culinary program, and engineering via the Project Lead the Way and manufacturing courses. In 2020, we hired a new instructor, and that's what the Perkins funding went toward. And it looks like 2021 through 2023, our culinary arts department kind of cornered the market on our Perkins funding. In 2024, all the funds were evenly distributed among all of our programs in the CTE department. In 2025, most of that funding went to the health sciences and culinary arts department. And in 2026, if you remember from the presentation, just about, I want to say maybe 2 weeks ago now, the funds have been evenly distributed among several programs, including 30,000 for manufacturing. And I believe part of that was through a supplemental Perkins grant. And so again, that was one of the questions that was asked was, if we are to provide a certain amount of money through the Perkins grant to the manufacturing program, will there be other programs that are negatively impacted? And hopefully this answers that question in terms of, there are programs in the CTE department that have been receiving funding and have, received basically the materials and resources that they've needed over the years. And then the last question was, what courses are we going to run, and have these courses been approved by this committee? And so the Intro to Manufacturing course is one that we plan to offer for a half credit that has been in the program of studies, as you probably remember from that timeline I just reviewed, since 2009. And, there's no timeline for, because it's not a new course, there's no timeline for bringing it forward to this committee. The Manufacturing Tech 1 and 2 courses we also plan to continue offering. The Manufacturing Tech 1 course was offered for the first time in 2009. It was brought into the program of studies. We use the YMPI curriculum as the foundation. The Manufacturing Tech 2 course, I believe, was first approved during that 2016 period. And so it was approved not by this committee, but by the internal curriculum council, or so to speak. I think that's what it was called. That also, that curriculum is also grounded in the YMPI curriculum. Again, that's something that's purchased. And the last course that we plan to offer next year, but not until the spring, is a robotics course. That's going to be a half credit course. It's not yet in the program of studies because we're waiting to hire our new teacher that's going to be in this program. And so I probably will bring that forward either, sometime late this spring, but most likely in the fall for implementation in the spring of 2027. We anticipate that course will also be a course that we purchase. There's a number of robotics courses that have been written and are published for schools to use by credible organizations. That's most likely what we will do as well. And I will bring that forward as soon as the high school is ready. They've hired a teacher. That teacher works with our consultant to choose the correct, course or the best course for our students. It will be a half-year elective. And, we'll move forward with the process at that time. I believe that's the last slide in this part of the presentation. Mitch, I see that your hand is up.
Yes. What I wanted to ask is, with that robotics course and the robotics club that we have, is there going to be overlap, or is there going to be some kind of a continuity there, or has that not been discussed?
Yeah, well, we anticipate, at this point, it's hard to, we have some students, I think they told me that there's approximately 50 to 55 students that have registered for the course. We anticipate, of course, there's going to be overlap between the students that are in the robotics club and the students that register for the course. But they haven't finished the scheduling process yet. And we want there to be synergy between those two groups, of course.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Ian?
Thank you. So just to clarify, first off, the Perkins grant situation. So there is going to be impact on other courses that have been supported by that grant. It's going to be just a broader dispersal.
Can you go back to that slide, Caitlin? So what this slide is designed to show you is go one more. See where it says Perkins funding? There you go. Can you show the whole slide? Thank you, Caitlin. What this slide is designed to show you is that over the years, since 2019, the first year that we received Perkins funding, that this funding has basically been distributed where the needs are. So in 2019, everybody in the CTE program basically shared in that funding. In 2021, it looks like it was mostly manufacturing, but from 2021 through 23, for example, it looked like culinary arts had the greatest needs. So they received most of that funding. In 2024, the funds were evenly distributed. And then in 2025, it looks like health sciences and culinary arts received a lot of that funding. So while you might say, well, other programs are impacted. I mean, I think anytime you make choices about, funding is going to go here versus here, yeah, other programs are impacted because not everyone is getting the money. But at the same time, we have, our leaders at the high school, our leadership team, the principal, the assistant principals, as well as the department leader for the CTE program, who sits down with the department and says, okay, what are our needs? Let's talk about, what the needs are, what's the justification, and then they develop the budget for this Perkins funding. So I would say to you, no, there's no one else in the other areas that are going to be going without, because this year manufacturing is getting, the bulk of this. Again, it says here, funds evenly distributed, plus there's that supplemental Perkins grant that is helping to fund this manufacturing program.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's one way to look at it. And the other way is, it's a broader base of programming. We're enhancing programming, so we're spreading out this pool of money further and wider. Yeah. So either way, it looks like there's a history of shifting the funds from one place to another depending on the need. So it's not a flipping of the tables, so to speak, or it's not a massive hole. It's just one more program that's going to be incorporated into this matrix.
Yeah. And, as you can see here, starting back in 2019, when we first got the funding, the manufacturing program was incorporated. So it's not like, it's not like they've been added and now like instead of having 5 programs, now there's 6 that have to be where the money has to be split. It's just that for a
Right.
while looked like manufacturing actually didn't get any funds for a number of years.
Right. So, into the next slide, I guess if we could move to the next one.
Sure.
So yeah, like that removes my concerns as far as like the funding goes. It seems like it's just going to be a continuation of like what's been past practice as far as shifting that funding around, and it's going to be a game time decision. With the curriculum, it looks like a lot of this stuff is pre-existing.
Yeah, so as I said, Intro to Manufacturing was first introduced in 2009, as well as the Manufacturing 1 course. Manufacturing 2 was introduced and approved in 2016. So it's really just the robotics course that would be a new course that would come forward to this committee.
Right. So I guess my concern is with the 2009 curriculum and the
Mhm.
2016 curriculum.
Yeah.
The last time that they came through, like that curriculum was focused on the manufacturing program that we had at the time was run through the wood shop. Is that correct?
I have not looked at in putting this together. Obviously, I had a lot of work to do in order and also to prepare for the other part of this presentation. I did not, put my eyes on manufacturing, intro to manufacturing curriculum. I have to trust that, that this curriculum is because it was approved, was written and reviewed by this committee. Obviously, the members have probably changed significantly since 2009. But if there's an update, of course, they'll come forward and tell me, Emery, there needs to be an update, and in which case it will go through this process.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, just intuitively looking at it, I'm thinking that there's probably going to have to be some kind of update, especially since like this manufacturing course that's coming in is going to be primarily focused on the electronics and the robotics end of things, like, more machinery, more machine shop type stuff as opposed to wood shop type stuff. So I do anticipate. So the update process, would that follow the similar pathway and timeline? If this curriculum had to be updated?
From what I understand, if it is a minor revision, then that does not go through this process. It actually is an internal process that goes through my office. If it's a significant revision, then it's something that goes through the process here with this curriculum committee. But no worries. I have been almost like I want to use this term, but it's going to come off the wrong way. I've been like a bulldog in terms of making sure that people are following the correct process for these courses and making sure that curriculum looks a very specific way and follows the board policy. When I took on this role, there was a lot of cleaning up to do from my predecessor. No disrespect to him, but I think that maybe because of COVID or a variety of things that things may have not been as strict. And so I'm trying to, put these systems back into place. And everyone knows that I'm very strict with the rules about this.
Well, I definitely appreciate a standardized and formalized approach, as you know. And so I guess the other question I have is, what is the threshold? What's the dividing line, the line of demarcation between, like what would you consider, or what is considered significant enough to warrant going through the full process versus what can be handled internally?
Yeah, so that has not been like articulated obviously in detail in either our curriculum handbook or like the policy or the regulation. But I'd say I've been in this type of role since 2008, either as a director of curriculum or as an assistant superintendent for curriculum. Basically, when people put forward their proposal and they describe, and you've seen the proposal document, Ian, but when it's described to me in that proposal document, what work needs to be done, I use my professional judgment at that point and say, no, this is significant, or so you need to come forward through the board process, or this really falls under the umbrella of a minor revision.
So is that an area of need where we might have to make a referral to the policy committee in order to establish like a firm understanding of what that threshold is?
I don't believe so. I believe that you can trust my professional judgment on that.
Oh, right. No, and I'm fine with that for now, but like, just thinking about in the future and in general, just overall, just to have something established so that if anyone has concerns, we can refer to it and
No,
say, well, here's the line.
I generally feel like anyone that holds the role that I do has experience in curriculum writing will know that when we're talking about revising say for example a curriculum document consists of 8 units, and we're talking about more than half of that curriculum has to be changed or something like that. I mean, that's something that I would say, yeah, when we're talking about half of the course is being changed or more. But if we're talking about minor revisions, we're going to change one, we're going to modify 1 unit, or we're making some changes to add in some new instructional strategies. Well, that's a revision.
Okay. I'm fine with that. I guess just moving forward, would it be reasonable for us as a committee to expect at least a report if there are like a series of minor revisions that need to be done, just so we
Sure.
have an understanding of what's been changed?
Yeah, do you mean specific to the manufacturing courses or to everything?
Well, since this is the case in point, yeah, I think it'd be great to have it specific to this course, but then like as a practice moving forward, I think it'd also be good.
Oh
just
yeah,
to kinda-
I'm happy to do that. I actually have a number. I'm in the process right now of working with our teachers to identify, which courses might need to be revised or in the summer. And so I'm happy that, maybe in the beginning of the year to give an update on what courses are revised and what types of revisions were made in those courses.
I think that'd be great, and I think that'd be a good, perfect timing for it, beginning of the school year. Excellent. Thank
Will
you.
do.
Appreciate it.
Mhm.
That's pretty much all I have for now. We can move on. Thank you.
Mitch, did you have another question?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, don't apologize. Happy to answer all of your questions.
This may be a repeat, but the third column in program of studies, yes, no, and then YMPI.
Yeah.
Would you mind just taking 30 seconds to run through what that means? I think I know what it means, but
Yeah.
prefer
Yes.
to hear
You know what? I forget what the acronym is, but I know YMPI is one of the purchase curriculums that we work with, and it's something that I know is recently, I wouldn't say it has been updated, but it's still something that is considered valid, because as we've been working with Lori, our consultant, she also, this was kind of like one of the resources that she had actually recommended.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And whether or not it's a program of studies, I'm assuming like everything is a yes except for robotics, and that's because it's not a required class. Is that what that is?
Program of studies means it's not an approved course. It hasn't been approved yet by this curriculum committee, meaning that then because it hasn't been approved, it could not be written in our Fitch High School program of studies. But once it goes through the process, that's something that we obviously can add into our program of studies, and then students can enroll.
Thank you for the clarification.
Mm-hmm.
Mitch, I just raised my hand again. I have one more question, a quick follow-up.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ian. Go for it.
Yeah, no worries. My hand was up, and then I took it down and put it back up again. So quick, just to follow up on the robotics situation.
Yep.
Mitch's question reminded me of that. So understandably, so the students that have expressed interest in the robotics course, that was all just still at survey level, right? It's not like
Yeah, that was like
registration
survey
since-
level. Absolutely. Yeah. So they're able, so kids haven't like officially enrolled in that course. It was kind of like, if we were to offer this course, would you be interested? That kind of thing. And I think that, again, it was somewhere between like 50 and 55, maybe it was between 50 and 60 kids.
Right. Because we can't actually register anyone for a class that doesn't exist yet. And as far as like the actual construction of the curriculum goes, you were talking about a prepackaged to purchased.
Yeah. So our consultant who's been working with us has let us know that there are, I believe, 4 different options that can be purchased from very reputable, I guess, organizations that, have created these documents. she actually recommends kind of using a combination of two in my conversations in working with her, as well as, as the high school. And so, but really, she thinks it's important for us to hire that teacher first, see if that person brings any of his or her own expertise and background to this, and
Got it.
get that person's input.
Understood. Appreciate that. And actually, on that line, how is the process going with the hiring? Have we had applicants? Are there interviews happening?
From what I understand, we had applicants, and I don't know. I think that they were going to start interviewing, but I have not asked recently. I can follow up and ask about that.
Yeah, definitely appreciate that. And as far as like the anticipated crossover, I'm not sure. I can't speak for the robotics club people, but I just would want to, from my own perspective as an individual member of the board, I just am very cautious to assume too much of any sort of blending between the two operations.
Sure.
Just because the robotics has been established, the robotics team, I should say, has been established for 20 years and been doing their own thing their own way and producing great team members, and people have been getting great loggable hours and resume building hours out of that experience. So they have their own thing kind of dialed in real well, and I would be hesitant to blur those lines in any way that might offset the balance between. So as manufacturing moves forward, I would just encourage that manufacturing just kind of focus doing its own thing, and even with the robotics course, parallel, like train tracks, like they're working in parallel together, accomplishing similar goals, but not crossing over necessarily, so that one's not being constrained by the other and vice versa.
Of course, we don't want anyone to constrain, any of our programs to feel constrained by another. But I think, in an ideal world, maybe we have some of our students from the middle school coming up. They're interested in a robotics course, and that sparks their excitement, and then they want to join the robotics course, the robotics team. There's so much research out there that says that if a student is involved in an extracurricular activity, such as a club, a sport, music, drama, it doesn't really matter what it is, they're going to be that much more invested in school. They're going to attend more regularly. They're going to get better grades. And so whenever I see an opportunity for our students or any students to take what they're learning and then extend that into some kind of extracurricular like that, I just think it's great. So who knows, they may or may not, those things may or may not wind up overlapping, where we have maybe one kid. But if it does something even for one kid, I think that would be really cool.
Yeah, agreed, 100%. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Ian, I'd like to take this opportunity to comment. I thought that was well said. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Mitch. I was just saying, I know Dr. Ackerman's been relatively quiet, so I wanted to check to see if she had any questions.
That's funny, because I was thinking about this. I'm leery about paralleling with again. I have no question that the robotics club is a wonderful organization and that kids learn so much, but I have real fears about an outside organization getting involved with school, with district decisions. And I see the possibility of a club dictating curriculum. And I have dread about that. So we need to be really careful about how much authority we grant to any outside organization. And Anne-Marie, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree with you in terms of those concerns. I do not anticipate that I'll be taking any marching orders from anyone other than Superintendent Austin and certainly the members of this Board of Education, specifically starting with this curriculum committee, about what a course will look like. I don't have an expertise, obviously, as a former high school, middle and high school English teacher in the area of robotics, but I think that we need to leave that type of programming up to our experts, specifically our teachers, rather than maybe someone that is running one of our clubs. But
Exactly.
we're
Exactly.
not at that place right now, but that's why I always feel like whenever we can cooperate and work together, and that's my ultimate hope,
Yeah.
and I think superintendents and Austin's as well, that if the person who's running the course or the individuals who are running the manufacturing program, because it's probably more than one person running manufacturing and robotics, can coexist with our friends in the robotics team, that would be the best case scenario, I believe.
Absolutely. Yeah, I have no trouble with that. My fear is that that an outside entity would have so much weight in determining what the high school curriculum looks like. And that's just my fear. So just a cautionary thought. We'll see
Agreed.
what happens. We'll see what happens. We just won't, like you said, Emery, you're not going to let anything like that happen, and neither is this board.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, Mitch. Could I just ask a quick follow-up of Dr. Ackerman?
Sure.
No, I just wanted to get. Could you explain what you mean by like outside entity influencing curriculum? Like, what would be an example of an outside entity in your
Robotics
context?
club. The robotics club would, I hear maybe what I heard is not what you said.
That is
That
not what I
often
said. No.
happens. Yeah.
No,
What
like I was saying, separate but equal, essentially, like in the sense that like robotics does what robotics does, the manufacturing is going to do what the manufacturing does, and whatever crossover may occur between the students or any sort of collaboration between the instructor and the coaches would be an organic thing, not mandated and not required, and definitely not done in a way that would constrain either program.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think we're all on the same page on that particular subject. We might as well move on.
Okay.
Anne Marie, and turning the floor over to you again.
Thank you, Mitch. So we're moving on to the second item on the agenda. This is a pretty big deal. I've been talking to this committee as well as the whole board about math and exploring a new resource. So we really have been working on this for the last, I would say, more than a year. When I first started here in Groton, almost immediately people started talking to me about math and wanting to see some changes in math. And I certainly understand why. We'll talk about that in just a few minutes. And so I have some friends here that are part of our meeting tonight. Daisy Rao, Caitlin Crowley, and also Mark Master Joseph have agreed to be here tonight just to kind of support the recommendation that I'm making tonight. And specifically, that recommendation is to adopt the illustrative math resource. This is a resource that we have been piloting. We started working with the illustrative math resource just a little bit, kind of exploring it and researching the illustrative math resource last year, probably around I would say the late winter, early spring. I did give a report last year to I believe to the curriculum committee and then also the full board. I reported to the full board this past November, in which I talked a little bit about this pilot, gave an update, and now I want to provide an update as well as make a recommendation. So illustrative math has I would say like a little saying or a mantra that they want to create a world where all learners know, use, and enjoy mathematics. And to be honest with you, I love that because when I was a student, I did not always, sometimes I did, but not always know how to use mathematics effectively. And I certainly did not always enjoy it. So hopefully that will be our goal moving forward. All right. So this work, of course, is in alignment with our strategic plan, specifically pillar number 1, accelerate student achievement. That should be no surprise to any of you. Go ahead, Caitlin. And you probably remember this because I've showed this to you a couple of times. As again, almost immediately, some of my math friends here that are on the call started talking to me. Specifically, Daisy was one of the people that initiated this, and I really think it was probably within my first week of work. She reached out to me and said, "What is our vision and approach to math instruction?" And I said to her, I remember there was an email exchange. It was a Sunday night, and I said to her, Daisy, I haven't even worked here for a week yet. Can you give me a few minutes? And but I was really glad that Daisy kind of pushed me to think about this and to work with our committee, not our committee, but really our math team, K through 12, to think about this. And so they collaborated together. I said, okay, well, we're going to think about what our vision and approach is to math instruction. It's not going to be my vision and approach. It's going to be the team's vision and approach. So they were kind of developed this in which, they said, we're, as Groton Public Schools District, we're going to ensure equitable access to rigorous and dynamic mathematics so that students will make sense of math in creative, interactive, and authentic ways. And specifically, they identified 5 different kind of approaches to math. Number 1, that we have mathematics instruction that's aligned to standards, promotes active learning, encourages real-world connections, and emphasizes conceptual understanding, and builds coherence in our grades K through 12. Now, this vision and our approach to mathematics really drove then the work that we did in terms of selecting a resource. And if you wouldn't mind advancing. So specifically, we looked at illustrative math, abbreviated here as IM. And illustrative math has several key design principles that align with our vision to mathematics, specifically that it's student-led. It really encourages real-world connections for our students, and that it's cohesive through the grade levels. And I think that really can't be underestimated. Currently, our students have one resource, actually 2 different resources that they are learning from in the K through 5. In 6 through 8, there's another. And then in 9 through 12, depending upon their grade level, they might be accessing information from IB. They might be accessing information from AP. They might be in the 9th and 10th grade level and using a different resource. So our teachers are pulling information from a variety of different resources. And what that does is it doesn't allow us to build structures and routines through our mathematics. And in this case, when in choosing illustrative math, we're hoping to kind of build those structures and routines. So I want to talk to you a little bit about the pilot, because we have been piloting our teachers have been piloting illustrative math in all K through 8 schools. And what I asked them to do at the start of this year was to identify we identified the units, but they would implement 1 or 2 units depending upon the grade level starting in August of 2025. And in K through 5, those units were selected by our elementary math specialists, and in grades 6 through 8, the units were selected by Caitlin Crowley, our math supervisor. She worked cooperatively with the math teachers in that case. The resources, in this case, that our middle school teachers and our math specialists were given curriculum writing hours to incorporate the pilot unit or units into the existing curriculum. And then the resources were downloaded and placed into a shared curriculum drive for teachers. Now, we were given access to these resources by one of the vendors who allowed us to have some access for a period of time. In terms of training, training was provided by a certified IM instructor that we've been working on, focusing mainly on our mathematical practices and strengthening our teachers' work in that area. But we also received professional learning in terms of modeling and visits to schools that have been implementing IM. So our teachers have had like a variety of different exposure. And feedback was collected from our teachers and our leaders. And if you remember, in November, I shared with you some of the feedback that we received from those surveys. But you might be wondering, why should we transition to illustrative math? And here I've identified 4 reasons. Number 1, it supports improved student outcomes. And I'm going to talk about each one of these in more detail in just a minute. Number 2, it addresses the need for, you're going to see, I'm going to like referenced this abbreviation a number of times. It's called HQIMs. That stands for High Quality Instructional Materials. So I'm going to talk about that in a minute too. It shifts our instructional approach, which I just kind of referenced at the start of this part of the presentation, and it establishes our program coherence. Now, each one of the subsequent slides are going to talk about these in more depth. So, Caitlin, this goes into reason number one. So it it supports improved outcomes for our students. If you look at this chart I've outlined here for you, our student performance from between the years 2002 and 2005. And you can obviously see across the grade level our performance, for each grade. But if you follow the highlights, that follows for example, the yellow. This shows you a cohort of students and how they've performed over time. So if you look in 2022, we had third graders who were performing, 48% of them met the standard. But by 2025, when they were in grade 6, only 34% of them have met the standard. So hopefully you're following me. Same thing in grade 4. Fourth graders in 2022, 46% of them had met the standard. In 2025, there's only a reduction down to 44%, but you can see in 2024, that had to be a big bounce back because in 2024, they went down to 31%. And then the 7th grade teachers obviously worked really hard that year to get them back up. In 2022, our 5th graders were at 39%, meeting the target or benchmark. And by 2025, only 27% of our 8th graders were meeting the target. And so here, I hope that this chart really emphasizes to you the urgency that I feel about improving our mathematics instruction. Okay, reason number 2 is about addressing the need for high quality instructional materials. So there is a lot of research linking the importance of having high quality instructional materials and of course then having positive learning outcomes. Several studies have found that the choice in math textbooks as well as ELA and science have had significant effect on test scores. And when when teachers do not have access to high quality instructional materials, well, guess what they do? They look on the internet, sometimes for up to 7 hours per week for materials online, or they create their own. Now, we want to help our teachers and make things easier for them rather than create more obstacles or challenges for them during their week. And then as a result of these types of things, what happens? There's no alignment, quality control, or analysis of the effectiveness of the content that's being pulled together for students. So I might be one 6th grade teacher, Daisy's another, Caitlin's another, and Mark is another. We might all be pulling different materials to use with our 6th grade students. And we don't want that. We don't want our teachers in the same grade level doing different things for our kids. As a second part of this, I just want to talk to you a little bit about illustrative math. Districts that use illustrative math have also improved student outcomes. For example, in Philadelphia, they've had their highest test scores in 9 years. In Los Angeles, they've exceeded their pre-pandemic math performance. And in Washington, D.C., that was identified as the most improved area. It says here state. We know that they're not officially a state. In math achievement, as published by an article in 2025. And there's links to those articles so that you can read those. Mitch, you have a question?
Yes, I do. If you could go back one slide.
Absolutely.
Thank you. How do we know that this material is a high quality instructional material? Is that based on what the consultant told us, or have you had a chance?
I'm so glad that you asked that. I'm going to you'll see that in just another slide or two. Could you hold the question?
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, Caitlin, do you want to go to the next one? All right, so in this slide here, it actually addresses your question, Mitch. Thank you so much for asking that. So there is a platform that educators use, and it's called Ed Reports. It is an independent platform that is not like I would say funded by any of the textbook companies or anything like that. And what it does is that these companies that create the materials, they submit their textbook or their resource to Ed Reports, and they have independent raters who are trained to evaluate the resource in terms of, is it a high quality instructional material. So the first slide actually shows you the current resources that our students are using. In K5, our students are using the one on the left called Investigations in Numbers, Data, and Space. And you can see that it's rated according to 3 gateways, and the best rating is green. The next best, I guess, would be yellow. Yellow is kind of like cautious, not great, but not terrible. And then there's red, which does not meet. So you can see here, Investigations is one of our 2 resources that our students or our teachers are using with our students. The second resource that our teachers are using is a resource called Context for Learning Mathematics, and that has not even been rated because they will not submit the resource for rating to Ed Reports. In grades 6 through 8, our teachers are currently using Connected Mathematics. That was released in 2015. You can see in gateway number 1, it does not even meet the criteria, and that gateway number 1 is aligned to the Common Core standards. And so the fact that our middle school teachers are using a resource that is not aligned to the standards, it probably, well, for me, it did not surprise me that our students may start out in the elementary school as high as 48% in grade 3, for example, and then by the time they're in grade 8 are down to 27% meeting the benchmark. Daisy, did you have your hand up? You wanted to add something to something I was saying?
No, you answered it actually. So I put my hand down.
Okay. Ian, you had a question?
Not so much a question. I just want to express my appreciation for this approach, and I'm in full support of this sort of this angle of attack towards math curriculum. But unfortunately, I'm coming into a schedule conflict, so I have to tap out.
Okay.
But I wish you all the best, and I appreciate this, and illustrative and immersive is
Thanks for that
all
feedback.
everything that I advocate for when it comes to math. In the real world context, I think that's a great approach. Practical along with philosophical. We got to throw it all on the table and see what tracks with any given student, because there's so much differentiation that is needed with math, because everyone kind of sees things not everyone in every individual way, but there's some wide ranges of people's understandings and angles of approach to math and what really cracks it open for them. So we have to put out a full menu. So appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Ackerman?
I understand the philosophy behind this and the philosophy behind all of the resources that you use to evaluate. However, what would a lesson be?
Oh,
I can't even imagine.
Actually, if you hold on, we can talk a little bit about that too. Would you
Okay,
mind waiting a little bit longer?
sure.
Okay, thank you.
I just have
All
a
right.
lower here. Okay.
Next slide then. Oh, and Mitch, you have a question?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
My question is, how did we get in that situation that we're in now, which you just had on the previous slide?
Yeah, so I mean, it's hard for me to speak to because I obviously wasn't here, but I do believe when those resources were selected at the time, they were kind of new and what was current. But unfortunately, these resources have to continuously update and make sure that they're improving and aligned. And I think that not all resources do that. And that's what I think my input is with that. But I think some of our teachers that have been with the district for a while may even have better insights. Mark, I know you've been with us for a long time. Do you have any insights into, how kind of that to speak to Mitch's question?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, I think you're muted again, Mark.
Mark, you're muted. There we go.
Okay, sorry about that. I'm working off a computer that's half broken. So I think at the time, what they were trying to do is help guide teachers in changing their instruction from teacher approach, standing in the front of the room, to getting students to use the mathematics, apply it, doing hands-on experiments. I used to do it at the middle school. And at the time, CMP3 was one of the ways that you could implement that type of instruction. I think the big issue is that, and it's something I've seen now for a long time, not just in Groton, but IM has a very consistent alignment with standards, at least K through 8. And we did not have that before. And so I think there was standards missing in CMP3, or it didn't go back and reinforce it as much as they needed to, where this curriculum spirals back as they go on through the year to reinforce skills. And again, it's not teacher directed. That's probably, from my experience, that's basically, because when I first got to Groton, obviously it was 20 years ago, and there was a lot of standing in the front of the classroom because that's just the way things were done back then. So I think the big push there was really to get people away from the front of the room and having stations where kids were actually doing the work, not the teacher.
Okay, thank you very much for providing that insight. I'm not so sure. I'm not an education expert. Although I do have a significant education, but as far as standing in front of the room goes, versus being in the middle of the room, I'm not sure how much how much of a difference that really affects. But I'm not going to claim to be an expert either. I guess I just want to make sure that what we're providing for the use of the teachers and also the students is something that has been looked at by people in the Groton school system, and we're not just going with what the recommendation of these companies is, because these companies are in business for one reason, like any company, and they're in business to make money. And so I just want to make sure that somebody can actually look me in the eye and say, yes, I verified this. I've looked at it, and say that they truly believe this is the right way to go. And
can I respond to that?
Yes.
So good question. I may have misled you by saying the teacher in front of the classroom. What I was trying to say is that it's being teacher-led instruction for 45 or 50 minutes. Instead, they've proven that students need to apply the math to really understand it. And I know that because traditionally I've had the highest scores in the middle school. And you can't just teach from the front of the room and lecture, especially at middle school and elementary kids. The other piece of that is there's a big part of IM that's nonprofit. And I'll let Anne-Marie get into more details on that. But I hear what you're saying. The only way they make money is to sell things. But the basic part of illustrative math is actually a nonprofit.
Okay, thank you. I believe
You're welcome.
we had another person with their hand up. I can't remember who it was a minute ago.
It was me.
Okay, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Daisy
You're welcome.
Rao.
Thank you for asking the question.
Yeah, I'm happy to look you in the eye and say that it's a wonderful program, and it is absolutely open resource. Actually, a lot of the core components of it are freely accessible, and I'll let Anne-Marie get into who led the the creation of illustrative math. As far as how investigations was chosen, I don't really know that either because I don't have the institutional knowledge with Groton Public Schools, but I can say that it was developed about 25 years ago. And at the time, as Anne-Marie inferred, that it was pretty cutting edge. We look at updating our curriculum on a continuous basis as a school district. And so we've had it for almost 10 years, investigations math. And during that time, the way that we perceive of the Common Core, the way we think about math and how we teach math and how kids develop in their learning of math, all of that has really grown. And so there are a lot of reasons why we would be moving to something new. I hope that's helpful.
Yeah, yes, it is. Okay. Thank you. Okay, I interrupted the presentation and we can probably move on with it now. Thank you very much.
Caitlin, can you pull it back up? I mean, yeah, Caitlin, right? Yeah. And now there's two Caitlins and I'm confused. Whoa.
Are you not seeing it?
Yeah, I don't see it.
Okay, stop. Where did it go? Are you seeing it now?
Yes, I do. Thank you. If you wouldn't mind going to the next slide. Thank you. So this just kind of continues the information that we were just talking about in terms of the high quality instructional materials. If you remember from the previous slide, we looked at the current resources, and this actually in terms of ed reports and how it's rated, how those resources are rated. And this is how illustrative math in grades K through 8 have been rated specifically by, again, ed reports. Ed reports has received, illustrative math has received high ratings or all green, meaning meets expectations in all three of its gateways or kind of rating categories by Ed Reports, again, an independent reviewer. One of the things that I think is great about illustrative math is that its founder was one of the lead writers for the Common Core standards for mathematics. And so that's how we know, of course, that its alignment is very strict, or it's very well aligned to the Common Core, meaning then that we know that our students are learning the standards that they're supposed to learn in the correct grade levels. If you wouldn't mind going to the next one. Okay, going to reason number 3 of number 4. This gets to our shifts in our instructional approach. So if you remember at the start of this presentation, I talked about shifting our vision and our instructional approach. So this illustrative math resource embraces more of a problem-based learning approach. We want our students doing the mathematics. It is assets-based in terms of our routines. Our students talk about things about like what they notice and wonder and what doesn't belong, to make sure that all of our students, regardless of their prior knowledge, have a way to enter into the lesson. And then it has an intentional design to make sure that students are talking to one another about math. I'm a firm believer that learning is a social process, meaning that kids have to talk and interact with one another in order to learn effectively. And this program really builds that into its design. If you wouldn't mind going to the next slide. And then there's 2 other points that I want to talk about here. Again, the coherence in the learning progression. This program makes sure that our students in K through 8 will be building upon the routines and the structures that's set up. And so that, there won't be anything unfamiliar to them as they progress through, not only through the units, but then from one grade level to the next. And then it focuses on agency and authority, empowering students, again, to be the doers of mathematics rather than the teacher or the textbook. Okay, next one. And finally, the fourth and final reason is that it helps us to establish program or instructional coherence here in Groton Public Schools. As I mentioned a little bit earlier, our current program model has our students learning from two separate resources in K through 5, specifically investigations and context for learning mathematics, and one in grade 6 through 8. But it doesn't really allow our teachers to kind of talk to one another about what students learn, the skills and the knowledge, and for our students to build upon the structures and the routines from from the elementary school to the middle school and then on to the high school. Adopting this resource would allow our students and our teachers to be working from one program model in grades K through 8. And they even, of course, illustrative math even has courses going through. It has Algebra 1, Algebra 2, and I don't know if it has geometry. I have to look into that.
It does.
But it does. If we wanted to extend eventually into the high school, we could. So my next step is really a request from you, Mitch, and from also Dr. Ackerman to make a recommendation to the full board to adopt the IM resource in grades K through 8. And with that, that's the end of this presentation. And I guess at this point, Mitch, if you wouldn't mind, I'm just going to ask if I know we have Daisy, Caitlin, and Mark on the not the call, but on the meeting tonight. And if they had anything else they wanted to add, again, our teachers have been piloting and they may have some additional insight or input. And they're all, very strong mathematicians, much stronger than me as a former middle and high school English teacher. So they may have some additional thoughts.
I still don't know what a lesson would look like.
Oh, yes.
mean,
I'm so sorry. I'm actually, that's one thing, Dr. Ackerman, I had that in the other presentation and I took it out because I thought it was too repetitive, but I will have Daisy speak to that.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Hi, Dr. Ackerman. Every illustrative math lesson starts with a launch or an opening or a warm-up. They go in different ways. They're usually like math talks, thinking about like estimation, which one doesn't belong, what do you notice about this equation or this model? And what's great about the launch is that it includes almost every child. You can have kids who are in special ed in the classroom in the same math discussion as kids who are on the very high end of their math proficiency, talking to each other about math. And I think at my
I
school,
see.
yeah,
I see that, but that's not my real question. Like, what would they be talking about? What kind of a math problem would they be dealing with?
so that would be like the launch, and then they would move into 1 to 3 activities. And
Yeah,
in those,
what are the activities? That's my question.
they are all building on Common Core standards. So it kind of depends on the concept that they're learning at that time.
I'm not being clear.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
trying.
I know that.
Can I jump in?
Okay, so yeah,
Hi, Dr.
please.
Ackerman.
Hi.
Um,
Yeah.
So I'm only jumping in. Daisy has
That's great.
great handle on this. I just saw a lesson today, and I'm not sure if this is going to answer your question or not, but as an example, if they're trying to solve the surface area,
Okay.
one of the activities I walked in on where I was supporting tier 1 instruction is that they were using blocks and they were using columns and rows of the blocks to set up arrays to figure out the area of a two-dimensional shape instead of the traditional approach of, okay, it's length times width. So they do like an investigation, and then at the end, they should come up with the concept and the purpose of it. And that I know students retain better than just memorizing stuff. Does that make sense at all?
Yes. So, but let me envision it. So I go into math class and there are a bunch of blocks on the table and maybe I have a ruler and I take the dimensions. I look, oh, it's like 3 inches long and 4 inches wide and 3 inches deep. And I'm trying to figure out by manipulating the block and the ruler and trying to figure out what the answer to the question is. Yes, no, maybe.
So partially. So they intentionally do not give them a ruler because we'll say that they're called centimeter blocks, and they would use those centimeter blocks with that measurement and figure out the length and the width, and then come up with the surface area by using the arrays. Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
Yes, yes, yes. That's just what I wanted to know. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
So each section, each unit is broken up into sections, Dr. Ackerman, and each section starts out with a constructivist investigation like that, and then it refines rather quickly, moving from concrete manipulatives to diagrams, and finally to more abstract equations, and then refining that so that kids develop efficiency and procedural fluency so that they can truly master that standard.
Okay, great. See, you've got that abstract explanation. Mark had me looking at a block, which is what so between the two of you, I really understand the concept now. So thank you.
You're welcome. And one other thing I want to add that I've seen and again, I'm a secondary guy, so it's been very interesting in the 4 years I've been at the elementary school, not only learning the importance, building the basics and the foundations, but this program going from one grade level to the next, because I give tier 1 support for grades 1 through 5. It's interesting how you can actually see the connection from grade to grade, not just the spiraling throughout the year within one grade. And I think that's going to add to our success because kids are going to remember some of those components. And then it just takes it like a step further.
Thank you. So then I would be able to go into my house, and if I had a table that I had to figure out the dimensions of or whatever, that I would be able to apply that kind of thinking to the actual problem I had in my house. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. That was my question. Thank you. Okay. Well done. Thank you very much.
Dr. Ackerman, did you have any more questions?
Yeah, can I go to that class? That's it.
Well, I have a comment. And Mark, you stated that you don't use a ruler. And whereas I'm thinking that might be a good way for kids to learn how to use a ruler, unless that's somewhere else in the curriculum. But every kid should know a ruler. They should know the metric system. They should know the English system. They should know volume.
No, you're 100% right. And that's exactly what happened. So this is the block example is just one of many things. They might be able to be figuring out the surface area for the amount of paint they need for a wall in a classroom. But the point is that they're doing it without using the ruler. However, that being said, there are multiple units where they do have to use a ruler, and they actually have to use they do use multiple forms, the metric system and the standard system. So I completely agree with what you're saying, and it's just done in a different spot, if that makes sense.
Okay, thank you very much. Just one other thing that somebody had mentioned geometry, wasn't sure to what extent that is studied, but what about trigonometry? Is that in there? Obviously, that would have to be at the higher grades. Algebra was mentioned. Is trig in there somewhere?
So the IM released an Algebra 1, Geometry and Algebra 2 curriculum. I believe those curriculums are quite newer to the IM's resource of curriculum. I don't know when all those were brought on to IM, but I do know that trig would definitely be part of geometry when looking at, your right triangles and that aspect. And then I know that trig is usually in algebra 2 as well, but IM doesn't have a specific trig course, and neither does Fitch. Trigonometry is normally built into those courses, and it's like heavily in pre-calculus. But IM does not have a
Uh,
pre-calculus course.
Just
But
to
our
add to that, Caitlin, it's the
Mhm.
same thing with the algebra. And again, this was learning experience for me. They start algebra in kindergarten, but obviously it's a very basic algebraic equation, and then it progresses. So algebra is embedded in the IM, at least K through 8 that I know of. Just like I think Caitlin was explaining, because even when I took trigonometry, it was embedded in a course. It wasn't a separate course, if that makes sense.
Okay, thank you very much. I got my question answered. Is there anything else relative to this presentation, or and what action do we have to take? I'm beginning to think we need to put a nomination on the floor to continue with this and make a recommendation to the entire BOE. Is that correct, Anne Marie?
I believe that's the case. This will be this is my first go around, Mitch, with recommending a resource for adoption. But I believe that's the procedure, and I'm sure Dr. Ackerman could let us know if that's the case as well.
Here again, Emery, because I was thinking about something else. So, Emery, I have one last question, and you don't have to go deep into this, but I just wanted to throw it out there because, you know, some of us are abstract sequential learners. Please give me a lecture. Don't make me pick up that blooming thing and measure it or don't measure it or whatever. Let the teacher stand in front of the class and lecture, because that's the way I learn best. Now, do any of these methods that we're using now give any credence to learning styles?
Yeah, I think honestly, when you look at a resource now, you have to incorporate a balance of different learning styles. In fact, I was just meeting with a group of teachers with Caitlin. This was in the last month, and we were talking about how you're going to use, depending upon what the lesson is, what the students are learning, what the learning target is, or the goals, you have to decide how you're going to, what instructional approach you're going to take based on the students that are sitting in front of you, what the topic is, and what your ultimate goal is. So Dr. Ackerman, I use the example, and again, this was a group of math people, but I was trying to relate to them. They were specifically learning that day for professional learning, building thinking classrooms. But I drew a parallel and said, okay, when I was teaching English language arts, I really liked doing Socratic seminars. In fact, I thought they were very powerful. This was a powerful instructional strategy to do it in my English classes. But I didn't feel like I was going to be doing Socratic seminar every day. There were times that I had to do that. I was lecturing to students, giving them background knowledge in order to prepare them for a new novel or a text that we were going to be reading. There were times that we were doing, maybe they were doing partner work or some other type of, is using some other type of strategy.
Yep.
And so you're not going to use the same strategy every day. I think that's not, students need I think the adolescent brain especially, but I think, even younger students, the brain craves novelty. Anytime you do the same thing every day, while it's important for them to have consistency and know what to expect, it also is important that they have novelty. And I don't think it's going to learn effectively if they're doing the same thing, for example, like building thinking classrooms or like Socratic seminar every single day. So you've got to know your kids, you've got to know what their needs are, and also, what's appropriate for any particular topic or skill.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. And there are some things that you have to lecture for, as exactly as you said, some things that you have to do hands-on, whether you like it or not. And
Right.
some things that, yeah, because that's, however the teaching and learning is going to occur. So,
Yeah.
okay, as long as I got to say that and ask that, and I'm satisfied with the answer. Thank you.
Mhm. Thanks for asking.
Are there any further questions, Dr. Ackerman?
No, I'll be quiet.
Oh, well, no, I don't want you to be quiet. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I learned the same way you did.
Oh,
And
okay. Yeah,
I,
well, if you read up on, I mean, some people are abstract sequential, sometimes are concrete sequential, and what's abstract random is the guy that wants to go out and, you know, find that snake in the wilderness and pick it up and look at it and learn from it, So we have all different learning styles, but I just wanted to make sure that was something that was being thought about. That's it. But that's it. That really is it.
okay, thank you very much. So I guess we're at the point where we have to make a recommendation here. And do we have to make a nomination on this, or just say this, the consensus of the board, which Dr. Ackerman is, I believe, you and I at this stage of the game. Um,
You say it,
is
I'll
that
second.
okay? So I'll make the nomination that we recommend adoption of this new tool for because that's the best term I can come up with for helping the teachers and helping the students. Do we have a second?
I second that.
Okay, so that has been put out on the floor and seconded, and uh, we're going to go with that's our consensus, and we'll make that recommendation to the BOE. I will have to write an email to them telling them that. But does that sound right, Anne Marie?
Sounds great. I appreciate your support. Thank you.
Okay. All right. What's next on the list?
I believe the last item on the list is the referral tracker.
Oh, yes. We're going to update that, right?
I think so.
Okay. Who's
Caitlin,
got that?
is that something, Caitlin, that you can project?
Yep. Can you see it now?
Yes, we can. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
Well, Mitch, I want to just quickly say thank you to all the members that were here, Caitlin and Mark and Daisy, and I want to let them know that they can go and hopefully they're going to go and root for the Huskies and get ready for the game, but definitely let them go of their responsibility of being online tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you
Yes,
very much, all of you.
yeah, thank you. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, it was great.
Thank you for having us. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, Anne Marie, you got the floor, I
Yeah,
think.
sure. So let's see here. I feel like Mitch, you don't have this kind of background or context because I know you're new to being the chair, and thrilled to have you. But we've made significant progress on the referral tracker sheet in terms of curriculum and instruction this semester, or really not this semester, but this year so far. And you can see here. What's listed is developing a schedule for curriculum updates. That's something that Ian just talked about, and looks like in the fall will be the most appropriate time to give an update on some of the updates that have been done for curriculum. So that'll be something that I put into my notes and prepare for the fall when we return to school. In terms of the curriculum reading and writing updates, that's something that's going to be, we talked about that, or there was a presentation last April, but Dr. Ackerman and I believe Chairman Washington talked about that being an ongoing topic, just like the math one that's two lines down. Math and ELA will be something that I think is at least once a year we're giving an update to the board on what we're doing in terms of math and English language arts. So those will stay. And then in terms of the study of IB, that's not something that we've addressed recently, although there was a presentation last year, but I think that Ian wants a more detailed presentation. I don't believe that's something that I'll get to by the end of this school year. We have really just one meeting left in May and I believe a meeting in June. But that is something that I certainly can make sure that is on the priority list for next fall.
And then we want to make sure that 6 through 12 ELA gets on there. Remember?
Yes. Yeah.
Whatever it was, it should, I don't know how it got taken off there, but it should be, we decided last time that we were going to put it back, but I don't see it.
Yeah, I think that, as we talked about Dr. Ackerman, I think that Bev changed it to K through 12, but I'll ask her if she wants to focus on K through 12 or we're going to do something 6 through 12 separately. I will tell you that next month, I do plan to make a recommendation to the curriculum committee about a new resource for grades 6 through 12. So that will be something that in some ways is kind of addressing one of your areas of concern.
Yeah. I really want to see how writing is being taught 6 through 12. Because I think it's quite different than reading and writing K-12.
Probably.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Is
Mitch, do you
there
have any questions regarding or recommendations for the tracker?
Say that again.
I'm
no?
asking if Mitch has any questions or recommendations for the tracker.
No.
Okay.
I
In
think
that
we're doing a
case-
good job with it.
Mhm. In that case, go ahead, Mitch.
Wait, I think the next item is future meeting topics, and then Dr. Ackerman, your very specific role after that.
See. Oh, here's the agenda.
So do we have any future meeting topics that either one of you would like me to, again, add? I don't know if it necessarily has to be put on the tracker, but anything that you'd like me to consider bringing forward to this committee for review?
I don't, but I don't know if Mitch does.
There's a couple of things I've been thinking about. I'm not sure how formal to make them. So this is just an idea here, okay? But to improve interest in STEM, we have a great tool out there right now flying around the moon, okay? And has there been any discussion in the school with the students about this? You know, when I was a kid, we were doing the Apollo missions and everything, and we used to bring a TV into the classroom and had to have the AV squad set it up, and we would watch the rockets take off and stuff like that. And it was a big developer for STEM. And we've got something out there that's kind of free, and it relates directly to science, math, and a whole bunch of other things. Is there anything going on that you're aware of, Anne-Marie?
Not that I'm aware of, but that doesn't mean that it's not happening. You know, obviously it can't be in all classrooms at once. Last week, I happened to be visiting a lot of the elementary schools, and it didn't happen to be during science time. It happened to be while they were reading. You know, they were doing their literacy work, and they were talking specifically about the Civil War. So, didn't really lend itself to that discussion. But that, again, it doesn't mean that our middle and high school students aren't talking about it, or even our elementary school students when they're learning about science. So let me do a little investigating about that, and I can give you an update about what I found out.
Okay, I appreciate that. I mean, even if a teacher takes 15 minutes out of a class and just to talk about it. Another question I have is I'm finding out as I talk to people that a lot of people in the town of Groton have no clue how our own government works. And I didn't know if we talked if there was any education to the students regarding how town government operates, even the state legislature or anything like that. So I thought I'd throw it out there. I think those are things people need to know because a lot of people stay around town. And I met a woman the other day who's been a Groton resident for 20 plus years and had no idea what the RTM was, and didn't learn it in school. And kids don't. Um, it's a good opportunity. So, do you know if there's anything that we do regarding that?
Yeah, that is part of our curriculum. They learn state government in the elementary school, I believe, in 5th grade, although the standards may have shifted on that. Let me double check. And then, of course, in the 10th grade, students have a civics course that's required by the State Department of Education. So they may even learn, no, I don't think so. I was going to say maybe also in 8th grade, they might revisit some topics as well. But definitely in the 10th grade, they have that civics course, very comprehensive. And I believe in the 5th grade in elementary school, they learn about local and state governments. But if you want very, even more specific information, I can provide that to you as well.
Well, I don't think you need to consider it amongst your top 20 priorities, okay? Because I know you're a busy person. But it was just a couple of thoughts that I had. Otherwise, I'm all set.
Yeah, I know that I have to say, in my experience, because I also taught some social studies classes, but mostly I taught English classes, and the kids, of course, had social studies as well. And that when the kids learned about government, it was something that I found that they would be excited about. They would come into English class talking about government and what they learned. They, of course, love to learn about their rights and who's violating their rights and what rights they have. And so it's something that I find that, the kids enjoy learning about. And so, I know that they do take these courses because they like to share with you at least their other teachers, they like to share with them what they're learning at the time.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mhm.
I'm all set here, and I think we've pretty much completed everything. I'll draft an email, Anne Marie, just to make sure I word this right to the board. And Angia, would you like to take action now?
I would. Motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
Thank you. And go Huskies.
Yes.